Hi, my name is Jack, and welcome to another video for the Season 3 of Last Epoch Beneath Ancient Skies. So, for this time, I have a build focused around one of the new items, which is this Truesight glass. The way that it works is it gives you an additional way to crit beyond your crit range. So, if you have over 100% crit range, you will do something called a Deadly Strike. And what Deadly Strikes do is they count as a crit and they have 300% additional critical strike multiplier on top of your critical strike multiplier. So I'll be building around this item, and I've chosen a Swarmblade Druid. So let me go over how this works. We're Swarmblade. We'll be in Swarmblade form the entire time, no shapeshifting. We'll go over here, get these travel nodes to get to Ironclad Beetle so we can convert all of the dodge rating to armor. We're also getting Water Strider for Maelstrom stacks on dive. So every time we dive, we get 4 Maelstrom stacks, and we'll be using the Maelstrom tree together with that. We'll be using Viper's Call, so our Serpent Strike tree affects Armblade slashes. Endless pressure for health and rage gain on boss and rare hit and on kill. Wind Fury strikes. So every time we do arms blade slashes, we get a Howling Cascade stack. When we reach 4 stacks because of Army of Tempest, we'll cast Tornado. And Tornado does 80% more damage, basically. Then Earthslinger, travel node, we go over here and we are crit build, so we get the base critical strike chance. And over here we go for Grasshopper's Frenzy, which gives us rage gain when you lock crit. So big uptime on the Swarmblade form. Then, as I said, Serpent Strike, Culling Point, 80% kill threshold. So anything that's 80% or lower immediately dies. Very good. I think it's one of the highest kill thresholds in the game you can get from skill tree. We get Constrictor, so every 0.5 seconds we get a stack of Constrictor, which gives us 50% damage with a maximum of 4 stacks. We'll go over here for Cobra Lunge, which gives us lunge if slightly out of range, 2 Armblade slashes. And we have Devour Prey. We gain health on crit, and since we have above 100% critical strike chance, we gain health on every single hit and on kill as well. Critical strike multiplier, of course, very good. We're crit build. Slither for dodge rating. This gets turned into armor. Travel node for the 50% attack speed, and over here 100% armor shred chance. So every attack of Armblade slashes shreds 1 stack of armor. Then Maelstrom, we go for Arctic Chill, which gives some nice slow in AoE around us. Eye of the Storm for 100% more damage, which is fine because we have Turmoil, so we have 60% more area. The Whirlpool for stack duration, traveling over here for Sleet-footed, which gives us increased dodge rating, which again gets turned to armor, and then Cyclone to turn everything physical because we're a physical build. Tornado, we travel over here. This is just traveling nodes to get to Eye of the Storm. So Tornado attaches to us and does 100% more damage. That way it works, it basically overlaps with Maelstrom, which is really nice. 75% more damage with 50% more mana cost, which is fine. And 45% more duration. We get over here for Aspect of the Storm, which grants us 10% movement speed. While we have Aspect of the Storm, we also have 21% attack speed, and Aspect of the Storm lasts longer. We'll also be using Summon Wolf, which has gotten a rework a little bit. Like, I think there was some changes. Most importantly, we travel up here and get Victory Howl. So whenever the wolves kill something, they gain 30%. Of course, they don't do a lot of damage. So we travel over here and get Snarl. And this one gives us, when we kill something, we have a 4% chance of triggering Howl, giving us melee damage and attack speed additional to the 25% more damage, and the frenzy that applies to allies, which include us, which is why we get the Summon Wolf tree and Howl. Also, your Wolf Howls grant haste for a short duration, so we're pretty much hasted when Howl happens. And Howl has 50% more duration, I think the base duration is 4 seconds or something like that. 3 seconds. So 50% more is 1.5, so 4.5 seconds duration. And then most importantly, whole on boss hit chance. There's a chance of 4% on every hit that when they hit a rare or boss enemy that they will howl. And then these are pretty much just travel nodes to get relentless stun immunity for the wolves, so they don't get stuck anywhere. Hall of Might, which is travel node to get to safety numbers for additional wolf for higher chance to proc the howl, pretty much. You can remove these two now since it's just, I use this just for traveling. The leap attack is not bad at all, so they stay on top of you. If you can find an like additional 4th point, so you can get this travel now and get leap attack, or you can just put them in any kind of utility where you think like making the wolves more healthy is good, so they don't die so often. Instead of that, that is the skills. Let's look over the passive. So in Primalist, we will just get the bare minimum of 20 points. There's nothing much we really need here. Strength is good. We'll be stacking strength. So these nodes are all just for traveling, basically. Harmony of Blades is very important though. And the reason for that is we'll be dual wielding 2 weapons for the highest possible crit in critical strike multiplier. And survival of the pack is so nice for some leech and some extra damage. We go into Druid, travel over here, and we get Spirit Warden, which has the mana or rage cost as health on spell cast. And this counts towards when Maelstrom and Tornado gets triggered, and that's why we're going for it. Druidic Prowess, which gives us 5 strength. A nice focused Wrath, increased damage while transformed. Though always transformed, and reduced rage decay is actually very, very nice to keep us uptime on Swarmblade form. And then Rancor, while we're out of combat, we will not get out of Swarmblade form. Over here, Wind in the Leaves for the attack speed, pretty much. Burst Stalker, we crit build, so we take this and we get some Health Leech on crit. Aspect of Might, this is one of the reasons why we're stacking strength together with the fact that it gives armor. So we get increased melee damage per strength or in Bear or Swarmblade. We have 49, so that's 49% increased melee damage from this node pretty much. Down here, Force of Nature for flat melee physical damage, and the 8 points, which gives us Locust Armor Shred chance. We mainly don't care about locusts, right? We don't interact with them in the same way that other builds do, which focus on them. So just having the extra shred chance is kind of nice. Rageborn, of course, so we get Rage on crit for uptime on Swarmblade form and increased critical strike chance. Hide Skin for health and maximum health gain is Endurance threshold, very nice. Impervious, so every melee hit, we have a 20% chance to grant a stack of Impervious. And what this does, it gives us less hit damage taken per stack. So this stacks up to 5 times, so 5 times 4, right? Pretty good. If possible, try not to get hit, so this stays at maximum stacks when you're attacking. Other than that, we're putting 5 points into Shaman, so we can unlock Tornado just into Shamanic Infusion. The penetration actually applies to physical as well, so that's kind of nice. Then over here, Earth Sign Strength, damage taken from nearby enemies minus 16 and 8 strength, a very, very good starting node. And Savagery, and here we put the last 8 points into Ambush and unlock Raining Maw, and then Raining Maw the remaining 2 points. What this does is every 5 seconds, next melee attack will do more damage and trigger Aspect of the Shark. An Aspect of the Shark grants us 50% more melee damage and 10% attack speed. And then while this is active, we have a 40% chance to shred armor. And that is pretty much the skill tree. Let's go over the equipment. I showed it already, Truesight Blast. We're building around this unique, so this is a must-have item. It's, of course, very good. We have about 533% critical strike multiplier, and if you deadly strike with a 40% chance, so we hit exactly 140% critical strike chance. That way we gain 40% chance to Deadly Strike, which is capped at 40%, which lets us crit at 833% critical strike multiplier, which is just ridiculous, right? And it also has a really nice implicit, which has less damage over time taken. Try to get that as high as possible. If you can get legendary potential, which is 1 in 6, so totally doable, but it also depends on where this item drops. Might be one of the rarer items because it's primordially, of course. So try to get the critical strike multiplier. Weapon is an obsidian dagger for the highest fist damage crit, and get the melee critical strike chance is the most important here. This one increases our critical strike chance by a lot. So instead of maybe if you can't get this exact weapon, obviously the physical penetration is not that super important, or the chance to shred armor. What is most important is if you can get the seal, which is either one of the 3 fixes and then the other 2. Try to get the T7 melee attack speed if possible, so we can attack as fast as possible. Then in offhand, we'll be using a one-handed axe, which is the eagle wing base for the base critical strike chance. And here pretty much the same. Try to hit the one of the 3 prefixes as a sealed effect, and then get the T7 on whichever you can get it on. The suffixes are just extra. We're using a Tusk Great Helm, which gives an increased health and damage leech as health on hit, so even more, pretty much leech. We have tons of leech. Critical strike multiplier while transformed is of course the best since we are a crit build, and then again we'll be stacking strength. 49, we have like 66% armor mitigation from all the strength we have. It actually adds a huge amount, as you can see, which is 196% increased armor from all the bases we get. On that, the suffixes is just health, and if you can get a sealed, critical strike avoidance, together with the critical strike avoidance you get from the amulet to hopefully hit 100% critical strike avoidance. Is important. We're using Ancestral Garb, which again, armor, increased health, and some cooldown recovery, which is nice. Critical strike multiplier while transformed. In here, we actually want to hit the +4 level of Swarmblade form, so we can get 4 extra skill points, and then the rest health and a sealed affix, just any good damage affix. We're using here an Iron Ring for the necro resistance. Again, these rings are pretty much always the same. Resistance in both suffixes to fix the resistances, and if you find on resistances, you get an additional damage modifier in the sealed affix. Other than that, it's always T7 critical strike chance and the increased physical. So depending on what resistance you need, you may have rolled better or worse on one of the rings, right? So balance that out. Then we're using a Praetorium Belt, which gives the highest amount of armor from all of the belts. Very important, and I always say this, you want the 100% chance to cleanse all ailments and potion use. This can be very important for survival. You need to cleanse, just cleanse certain things away. And then of course, increase physical damage, and the rest is just fixing resistances. Eternal Gauntlets for some armor mitigation applies to limit of time. Since we have so much armor mitigation, it then goes over into EHP for dot. This build struggles a little bit with dot. There's really not a good source of reducing damage we take from dot, sadly. Other than that, the most important here is the melee attack speed, which should be T7. If you think the melee damage leads as health, is that you don't need this. There's a bunch of other prefixes you can use. I think there should be a critical strike one if you need more critical strike, and I think there's also strength in here. You can take strength for more armor, of course. Maybe you get one of the experimentals, but it's really nothing really useful in the experimentals, honestly. So those are the other options if you don't care about the leech here. Then Then Citadel Boots reduce bonus damage from critical strikes. This is only useful if you don't have 100% critical strike avoidance. If you don't need this, like go for resistance bases, go for anything. Like we have haste, right? Generation, so you can take increased effect of haste on you if you want movement speed. Cold resistance good. Evade charge is very nice as well. So any of these, if you don't really need any of the rest, I think going for the fire resistance is good, and then that opens you a fire resistance roll somewhere else on a suffix that you can just remove. Other than that, the prefixes are pretty straightforward. Try to hit the increased movement speed and the strength, and then just fix resistances, and if you're fine with resistance, just armor on this piece. We're using an Outtro antler. There's really not really like a better base here. Like the rest is like, maybe if you're suffering on resistance, you can take the Spirit Catcher. The rest is all like not that useful. Like Primalist in general doesn't have that many good relic bases. So the endurance is, I think, is honestly the best you can get, which puts us at like 46% with the rest we get from Justice Relic, right? So 922, so almost 1k HP, endurance threshold. Over here, most importantly, of course, is the level of Serpent Strike, so we can have more points in that, and then critical strike multiplier, and the rest is just health, endurance, and damage roll. And that is pretty much the equipment. Let's go over idols. So the best ones are by far the vertical 1x4s, which gives us critical strike chance, melee damage, and then the enchantments give armor while transformed, and 1 rage gain per second while transformed. So if you, this gives more uptime on or form again, and then of course increase critical strike chance, critical strike multiplier. These 1x3s have endurance threshold, increased health, and melee damage, and then the enchantments are the same. Here we have a 3x1, which gives us melee critical strike multiplier while transformed, fist damage, and enchantments are the same. And we have 3 small ones, which can be pretty much whatever you want. You can fix some resistances up with the small ones, so anything else that you might be lacking. Damage-wise, you would go for the physical pen, increased physical damage ones. So pretty straightforward with the idols, like mostly just crit damage and some armor. Blessings, so here we have Timeline, the Black Sun. We go for the critical strike multiplier, since we are crit build. Reign of Dragons, increased physical damage. Spirits of Fire for the armor, and then Age of Winter we go for physical shred on hit, very good. Ending the Storm, this one really doesn't have anything good to take. It's very caster focused. Maybe the other option would be Lightning Rest, and then free up some suffix rolls instead. You could also take the Grand Crash of the Waste, but we don't really stun, right? So I think Grand Bastion of Divinity is probably the best one early on, and then later on it's Grand Rhythm of the Tide for some extra health region. So on top of all the leech we have, right? Sometimes the health region can counteract like damage over time debuffs, so we don't just immediately fall over that. That's mainly why I would take this. And yeah, that is pretty much the build. Of course, like Swarmblade is not the most tankiest. I think Primalist in general, or like needs a lot of rework, like the Acolyte has just gotten. Even with 64% armor mitigation, like how am I hitting these EHP numbers? Like I have like almost 3000 HP, and I have a bunch of like damage taken reduction mod. I feel like maybe last Epoch Tools isn't calculating the EHP here correctly for some reason. But this feels really low considering all of the defense layers I actually have. But then again, like Swarmblade is super fucking fast, right? And you can dodge, you can dive pretty much anything together with all of the movement speed you have in here. Sadly, the damage calculation is not really there, but like having, like looking at these like pure percentage numbers, it's like, right? So 43, 48 melee, like flat, and then plus the one hand, and I think a bunch of the stuff from the trees does not get calculated correctly. So, and then the Swarmblade form doesn't get applied as well. But 1160% increased physical with like 833% critical strike multiply on a deadly, or 533 on a crit, which will be all the time since we have so much critical strike chance on 120% attack speed is like that's without a doubt a lot of damage, right? And then we also have armor shred and physical resistance shred as well. So I'd say this looks very good, and I always liked this Swarmblade, even though I'm a bit more of a fan of the Diablo 2 variant, which is the werewolf. I'm kind of missing some stuff there, but we'll see how they change this. That's pretty much the build. If you like, leave a like, leave a subscribe. See you around.